I'll go ahead and just mention that if folks have questions during Jason's talk, they're more than welcome to raise their hand using the GoToMeeting, or enter something into the chat window, or ask a question using the question pane, and I'll then pipe in and get Jason's attention, and he can respond to your question right there. And then, of course, if you want to just wait to the end of his talk, he'll take questions then as well. And just welcome everybody here, and with that, I'll turn it over to Jason.
Okay, yeah, my name is Jason Burks. I'm one of the developers on VLab, and what we're going to be talking about today is kind of the difference between the VLab that we currently have and the VLab that you will very soon have. So on April 12th, which is Thursday, at about 9 p.m. Eastern time, we will shut down VLab, the version that you currently have. We will upgrade it in place to the latest version, which is what is called DXP, or also known as LifeRay 7. And then after we do the database upgrade, then we'll bring the whole system back up. We'll do a couple of modifications, and then the system will be back online. So we're expecting, obviously the database, we've done this database conversion several times throughout the course of doing this development, and it takes about 2 hours or so, but we're doing the outage kind of after business hours in the evening, so that it really doesn't impact people per se. And this will just be an outage for the LifeRay portion, or the VLCS. That's the part that we're looking at right here. So if you're using this page, that's the kind of page that we're talking about. This is going to be down for a couple hours. The other services that are available, that we make available, such as development services, Git repositories, SVN repositories, Redmine, code review, and Jenkins, those will not be affected. So those will be up and running throughout the entire installation. So hopefully when you come in on the next day, so on the 13th, things will be back up and running. We kind of are keeping kind of that next day as kind of a checkout thing. So we're going to be kind of making sure that everything is working. And there may be a need for us to shut down the service for, temporarily restart it or something like that. But we're hopefully going to have all that happen overnight, so it won't impact you. What else was I going to say about that? So all of that will occur in place. You don't have to do anything. So all the changes that you've made to your communities and stuff like that, and documents you've uploaded and everything like that, when we do the upgrade will modify those things in place. In a lot of cases, it doesn't really modify them. It just makes small changes to the database in certain places that needed to be upgraded. And then when we turn on the new service, it'll look a little bit different, and some of the knobology of the system is a little bit different, and that's what we're going to be covering today. So that when you start up the system, when you log into the system that next day or whenever it is the next time you get on it, you'll know how to get around and stuff like that. Okay, so we're going to be kind of comparing two things. We're going to be comparing the current VLab, which is 6.2, with the new version of VLab, which is DXP. Okay, so we're going to be clicking back and forth between these tabs, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to do it in the current VLab, and then I'm going to show you how to do it in the new VLab, and hopefully you'll find that things are better. So one of the things that you commonly do in VLab is you go between your communities. So I'm a member of several communities, and when I want to go to a different community, let's say the AWIPS community, I come over here and click on this little pull-down menu, and I go down to AWIPS community and click on it, and then that takes me to the AWIPS community. If I need to switch to another community, I just select whatever community I want to go to. Okay, in DXP, that menu is not there, so it's a little bit different. There's a little compass icon up here. So if you click on that compass icon, it brings up a dialog, and that dialog has all your communities in it. Now, one of the important nice things about this is it has your recent communities. So it keeps track of which communities you've gone to recently, and it makes a list of those. So if you're commonly going to Development Virtual Lab and AWIPS, they would be on your recent communities list. If you want to get all of your communities, you can click on My Communities, and that will show you the complete list of all of the communities that you're a member of. So you can see I'm a member because I'm a developer and an admin. I'm a member of a lot of communities, so having to sort through this list is kind of laborious. You can use the search function if you want, but the recent, this addition of my recent communities is really nice. Makes it easy for me to get to and find all the communities that I usually use. Okay, so just like before, you bring up this dialog, and then you would click on the thing that you want to go to, and it will take you to that community. Okay. So let's, so you can see it went to My Community. You can always get back to the main VLab homepage by clicking on this house. Okay, and from here, if let's say, so all communities, well, I guess not all communities, you can decide as a community owner whether or not you have private or public pages. Public pages are viewable by people outside of your community, and private pages are viewable by only people who are members of your community. So, so a lot of times you have to click back and forth, you know, like sometimes you want to go to the private pages, sometimes you want to be on the public pages. Well, in the previous version of VLab that was on 6.2, that was a little bit harder to do, a little bit more complicated. The best way to do it would be to make a link from one to the other, but it wasn't really that easy to do. So in the new version, you'll see this title up here that says what community you're in. And right below it, if you have a private and a public side to your page, you'll see the word private if you're on the private side, and it'll say public if you're on the public side. If you click on it, it'll swap you, it'll toggle you to the other side. So now you can see I'm on the public side, and if I wanted to go to the private side, I just click on the word public, and now I'm on the private side. So it makes it easy for you to switch back and forth between a public and private views of the community. Like I said, it really wasn't quite that easy in the previous version, so hopefully this is something that is a nice new thing to have. One of the other things that we added in DXP is we also added some ways to get to the other services that we offer in VLab, so our development services. So there's a little box up here, a little grid looking box, and if you click on that, it brings up a dialog or a little menu that allows you to quickly go to either Redmine, Code Review, or Jenkins. So if we wanted to go to Code Review, we could click on that and it takes us there. So that just kind of makes it nice, and we're going to add this little feature. We're going to add that little grid box essentially to all of the features of all of the facets, I guess, of VLab. So you'll see that on Garrett, you'll see it on Redmine. Eventually, we're going to migrate that out so that you can easily and quickly switch between all of those components. So, so the next thing is the WYSIWYG editor. So my kids always like when I talk about the WYSIWYG editor, but it sounds kind of strange that I talk to my kids about this. But anyways, let's go to a community. Let's go to the well, we're already at the AWIPS community. If we wanted to edit some part of this AWIPS community, let's go to this end users page here. And we wanted to edit this page, we could click on edit, and it would bring up in an editor like this all of the stuff that we could do to this page. So if we wanted to highlight this text and make it bold, we could just highlight it, and then we could click the bold icon. And now that text is bold, And so you could use this just like a word processor if you need to insert an image, that sort of thing. But the one thing is you see all the buttons all at once. So in DXP, it's a little bit different. So let me just go to a community that is my test community. And let's just add some web content here. And this is where you'll see that same editor. It's a little bit different looking. So if we type some text, so if you notice, you don't see all those buttons. And the first thing you would think is, oh, geez, what did I do wrong? Why is it not showing any buttons? But those buttons are inline in the editor. So if you wanted to add an image, you could just click here and click to add. And in the previous version of Liferay, if you didn't have an image in your Documents and Media Library, you had to go and upload that image to your Documents and Media Library, then come back to the web content and add it. Well, in Liferay DXP, if you go to add an image to a document, like a web content, and it's not already there, you're allowed to select it. And I'm just going to go to my desktop here, and I've got this nice image that I'm going to upload. And so, so you can add images to your web content right as you're editing it, rather than going outside of the web content and going back to the Documents and Media Library. But you can see that it just pasted that in there. But the important thing is that all of the editing is done inline. So you saw that if I'm clicked here, this little plus shows up, and I can add a table, add a horizontal line or an image. If I highlight text, then this little window pops up, and this has things that you can do like you were doing before. So you could add bold, you could change the color of the text to yellow, and the background color to orange, whatever you wanted to do. Okay, so that's an inline editor, and we like the inline editor in this because one of the reasons that I like it, I'll tell you the reason why I like it, is because one of the things that I always ran into was if you have lots of code and you pull this window down to make it bigger so that you can edit more, sometimes you can get away from where these buttons are, and you have to keep scrolling back up to the top to get to them. And to me, it always seemed kind of a pain to have to go back up to the top to get the buttons that you wanted to edit in some piece of text that was down near the bottom. So in DXP, those buttons always are with you. So no matter where you are in the document, you can be down here. And if you have some text down here, you have the access to those same buttons. So those buttons are always with you. And you can see the link button here, so you can add links. And just like before, you could paste in a URL, or you can click here to find the item that you want to, like a public page or a private page, or a document and media that you want to paste in there. So, so the other thing is, if you want to go and look at the source of this, so before, if you wanted to go to the source of this HTML, you could click on source. That would give you the actual source. So in this version, this little button over here, you just click on that. That gives you the source code. You can edit this. And then if you want to go back, you can click here. Okay, so that's the web editor and the WYSIWYG inline editor. So let's see, let me see what I have next. Okay, so administration of communities. So let me close this window here, and let me cancel this. So if I was going to administer a community, the way that I did that in 6.2 is I went up to the admin menu, and I went down to here. So if I was going to work on the pages, I would select the pages from here, and then I could add pages, delete pages, do all that stuff. Okay, if you need to administer content, then you would go here. If you needed to add users or control what roles people had in the community, you would do that through this users. And then finally, if you needed to configure something within the community, you would click on configuration. And then if you're an admin, you would have access to the control panel. But so all of these little selections on the menu are related to basically administering your community. So let's go back to, well, actually we can do it, let's just go to the AWIPS community. And one of the things that you have here is you have this little slide out menu. And that slide out menu, you just click on it to make it pop out. And when you pop that out, you will see all the controls for your community. So down here, inside of this community, so there's three things in here. You have the control panel. If you're an admin, you would have things that are associated with your user, like your profile, your signing out, resetting your password, so on and so forth. And then down here is your stuff regarding your community. So if you need to administer pages, you can click here on navigation. If you want to administer content, you would click here. You could go down to select web content or documents and media library, just like before. If you need to administer members or what people do in your community, you can do that through the members. And then finally, configuration is where you would set up community settings for your site. So one other thing here is if you close this little window or this little section of the menu, this compass pops up, and that allows you to go to other communities if you want to. So just like that compass is this compass. We added this here because it was originally it was just here, and we thought that was a little bit I don't know, hard for people to find. So we just put it up here so that it would be quick and easy for people to find that. Okay, so manage a community page. So let's go and let's go in here and just go down and let's go to a community page. So there's a what's new page. So you can just click on that page and then it will load it over here. If you need to edit this page, like make changes to it, you can click on this little gear up here. And then that brings up the stuff that you can do to, basically make changes for this page. Like if you need to change the title, the friendly URL, you need to hide it from navigation or change the layout from 2 columns to 1 column or something like that, and then you could click save. Okay, so other things that you can do with the community, so you can see that this community only has private pages, so because there's no public pages listed. If I need to add a new private page, I can click here, add private page. If you need to add a private page that's a subpage of a page, then you would go down to that page that you want to add a subpage, click on those and say make child page. So, so that's the way that you can also optionally configure the page by using this menu and click configure page. And that'll allow you to configure that page just like we did when we clicked on the cog wheel up here in the bar at the top. So that's how you would manage pages. And then adding a portlet to a page. So let's go to my my little test community here. So let me just kind of shrink this down a little bit so that it's not underneath the web, the GoToMeeting thing there. So if you want to get rid of a portlet from a page, it's just like before. You click on it and then you click remove. And if you want to add a portlet to a page, you click on the plus and then you can search for the kind of portlet that you want to add. So if I want to add some web content, I can do a search for web content display, drag it over here, and let's say I want to add a forum. Forums, drag and drop that down there. And so once you're done, you can close that and then you can work on your page. So you can edit configuration about the things on the page. Like let's say I don't like this bar at the top that has a title. I can click and go down to look and feel configuration. I can change the decorator to bare bones, click save, and close that. And now, now if I refresh the page, now you see that that title is no longer there. If you don't want to see these little pop-up windows popping up all the time, and you want to see kind of like what a user would see your page as, you can click on this little eyeball here with the and put the slash through it, and then that toggles off those controls, so you no longer see those controls popping up when you're moving over the page. So it's kind of nice. So that's how you add a portlet to a page. And one other thing that I will bring up, one of the things that we made some changes with is the search functionality within VLab. So you have this handy search bar over here, and you can do a search for, let's say, radar. And since I have everything selected, it'll search through every community that you have access to. It'll search and find things that are related to radar. Now what we added was we added a simple and an advanced view. So the simple view really just shows you all the results in a very simplified view. You know, it just merely has the title, and then it has what kind of thing it is. So this is a web content article. You'll see here's a document, and here's a blog entry. So everything is kind of mashed together, but it's a very simplified view. And if you want to go to that item, you can just click on it. If you want to do something more advanced, like you've all probably gone to Amazon and bought something, and let's say you're looking for a laptop, you can use what are called facets to reduce the amount of things that are returned and kind of narrow down your search. So if I did a search in radar for radar and did search, then you can see that showed up in all these different communities. It showed up in all these different assets. All these different tags happen to have it, and categories and folders and users, and then how often they were published. But if I want to limit my search to only, let's say, the MRMS community, I could click on that community, and then what that will do is that will restrict the results to only the MRMS community. If I further want to restrict that to only web content, then I could click on web content. Now this is limited to MRMS. You can see that that's highlighted, and the web content article. So I'm only seeing web content articles that are in the MRMS community. So if I want to go back to all communities, I can unclick MRMS by clicking any site, and then that will load basically and search through all of the communities and show the results for only web content articles in every community. So the simple and the advanced view allow you to you know, basically jump back and forth between kind of a more complicated search to a more simplified search. So one of the things that changed between DXP and 6.2 is behind the scenes, we're using Elasticsearch. We were using Elasticsearch in 6.2. We added that ourselves, but it wasn't inherently written that way from LifeRay's standpoint, the company that we get the software from. So in DXP, actually, Elasticsearch is supported out of the box, and so it's a better, tighter integration so that functionality will probably be a little bit better, and I think the searches are going to be better in DXP. So with that, I guess we can talk about questions. Do we have any questions, John?
No one has raised their hand yet or asked a question in the question pane.
Okay, yeah, so if you have a question, just click raise your hand and type a question, and we'll answer your questions regarding VLab.
So Jason, while folks mull over their question, let me ask one real quickly. So, you know, someone comes back, gets on the VLab on, you know, Friday afternoon or something, and then they can't remember exactly what you were mentioning about, say, the product menu or something. is there a place they can go for help?
Oh yeah, that's a good point. So it's like a softball question, right? So, so up here there's a help button, and if you click that, it'll take you to our help. So there's a user's guide, there's training materials. This conversation, this webinar will be recorded, so it'll be available. You can also, if you're just stumped and you can't figure something out, you can always send an email to vlab.admin@noaa.gov, and somebody will respond to you. If you have a bigger thing where you need maybe a bigger consultation, you need to, let's say, set up a community for a team and you just want help kind of getting going, you can schedule a consultation and somebody will meet with you and help you kind of, you know, wade through those waters. You can also, if you need a demo of VLab, you can do that too. And then also you can submit suggestions and feedback. So the user's guide is really, you know, kind of your first line of defense. So you can go here and read about how to manage forum or use forums or join a community or leave a community or, you know, anything. So if you're an admin for a community, how to add members to your community, things like that, organize your pages, all sorts of stuff. So yeah, so just click on this little question mark up here and you can get help. I will say that one other thing is in 6.2, you had your avatar up here and your name. And to log out, you clicked on that and went down to sign out. Or if you needed to do something with your profile or your account, you just accessed it from here. In DXP, when you click on this, it pops out that side menu, and then your stuff is in the one that's labeled your name and has your picture. And then you can go down and do the same things like sign out, edit your profile, change your account settings. So as you can see, we've updated the look of VLab also. So there's been a lot of hard work done on that. Looks like we might have a question here.
Yes,
okay, are there going to be, the SEAL asked, are there going to be job sheets or documentation for adding content and portals? So there are already, I don't know about job sheets, but there are in here in the help menu. So if we go to the help menu and we go to the user's guide, you can see there are lots of things in here about how to manage content. So like adding web content. So how to add a web content portal. And there's also how to add web content portal, adding new web content. So one of the things that kind of trips people up the first time they use VLab is there's a difference between adding a web content to a page through a web content portal and actually creating the web content. So those are actually two things. And the reason that they do it that way is so that you can kind of fragment up your page and you can include web content in multiple pages. And you can also take it off one page and put it on another page, or you can take it down temporarily and bring it back up, or, you know, so it makes it more flexible system. So the act of making web content is you first add a web content portlet to a page that you want to display it on. And then after that, then you add new web content or select the web content you've already created. So yeah, in the help guide, there are essentially things on how to do exactly what you're asking here. So how you add the web content display, and then how you create new web content, and what do you do to edit it, and things like that. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you very much.
Okay. Okay, the next one is, it looks great and new features are really nice. Thank you for your hard work. Well, thanks for those kind words. It's obviously, I'm not the only person who works on this. We've been working on migrating to DXP for 2 months now. And there's quite a few people working on this, whether they're you know, actively writing code, working on the theme, working on testing, updating the user's guide. Yeah, there was a lot of work that went into this. So, so we hope that everybody likes it and enjoys it. So thanks for those kind words. I'll relay those onto the team. Are there any other questions? The search functionality that I talked about was one of the features that we got requested a lot. Was can you improve the search functionality within VLab? And I think people will be happily surprised with that feature and how nice it is. So hopefully that'll be something that people will really get a lot of benefit out of. So any other questions? Like I said, this is being recorded, and once we're done with this, we'll basically put this on YouTube, and then John will send you the link so that if you need to go back and watch it again, you can do that.
Or if they want to share it with a coworker.
Yeah, yeah. And I know Ken was on earlier. Ken, do you have any?
Yeah, I'm here.
Do you have any additional things that you want to share?
No, I think you did a great job of covering it. You know, I hope everyone's, you know, we'll keep this nice and short to make it efficient for everyone's time. But we just wanted to give everyone an opportunity to see what's there so you're not surprised come Friday morning. And as Jason said, just a reminder, the upgrade will start on the production server at 9 o'clock tomorrow night, Thursday. And we will be working overnight to get that so that come Friday morning, we're not going to guarantee it'll be up initially, but it's our goal to have it up initially. But by mid-morning Eastern time, it should definitely be available. And again, we're doing the upgrade on the production site as it stands, so there's no concern about making changes or things like that up until tomorrow night. Everything will be upgraded in place, and then, you know, as Jason indicated, there may be a need to do some restarts and things like that on Friday, just as we do some manual cleanup. Most everything is automated, but there are a few things that we're having to do manually. So with that, I guess we thank you for your time, and unless there are any last-minute questions.
Looks like Brian Maritzky has a question, and I've unmuted him, so go ahead, Brian.
I thought of a question. What if you, after the migration, is there a way, Ken or Jason, to see what your old community looked like in case you're not sure if everything is working exactly the way you wanted it to?
That's a good question. We're backing everything up, you know, as a fail-safe in case things go awry, so that we can revert if necessary. But I suppose what we could potentially do, if there's a desire, is have a second instance that would be available in our dev space. So I'll need to think about that a little bit. I've got that set up in dev today so that we could switch between the DXP version and the old dev version. So that's something that could potentially be put in place. I hadn't. That's a good question.
Yeah, I mean, as long as you say that there's some sort of backup that, if necessary, you could go back to or something that may work.
Yeah, and we certainly have. You know, if things go poorly during the upgrade, we're not anticipating that. We've gone through the upgrade. Poor Ken's gone through the upgrade many times now. So we're hoping that the upgrade will go completely smoothly. But if it doesn't, and we need to roll back, well, we have a backup. We can always revert to the previous, to the 6.2 version and run that for a while until we can figure out what the issue is. We don't anticipate that problem. Like I said, we've gone through this upgrade quite a few times. And as an add-on to what Ken was saying, you can log into the VLab dev system. Right here is the address. So it's just like VLab, but instead of just vlab.nset.no.gov, you can go to vlab-dev. Now, over the next couple of days, well, until Thursday, which I guess is tomorrow, there's a potential that that site could be going down a couple of times just because we're making changes and testing them and stuff like that. And you can get on there and look at your content. Now, one thing I will say is that the system, so the system on dev, we essentially took the information on the production server and copied it over to the dev system, did the upgrade in place there, but we did that quite a number of weeks ago. So if you get on there and you notice that content that you had available on production is not on dev, the reason that it's that way is because we made that copy several weeks ago, and maybe your most recent edits aren't on there. And so, so if you go to the dev system, you can generally look at things and see how your pages look and things like that. But don't get freaked out if you know, a page that you edited yesterday or last week is not on there. It's just because we haven't taken the stuff that's on production and put it on dev in the last week or so. So, but it's a good place to go and look. If you have a site that you know, hasn't been updated in a little while, you can get on there and kind of look at it and see. I don't remember the exact date when we did our last copy from production to dev, but it's a, you know, I mean, it's a place where you can get on there and kind of look around.
Yeah, it goes back quite a ways. It was back in late November, I believe. So.
Oh, okay. Well, then that's more than 2 weeks.
Yeah, but we'll. I do have as part of my process to do database dumps, and so if push came to shove and you know, everything goes well, but then there are some questions, we could revert within a development instance. It may be local to one of our, Jason or myself or one of the other developers, but we could help with that if need be.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay. I think that's it then. Sound good, John?
Yep, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording and thank everyone for showing up, and we hope you learned something, and let us know what you think of the new DXP once it gets running by Friday. Bye.
Everyone have a great day.